Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today's video, it's a little bit of a mix just of what's been going on over the last week or so. First thing that is kind of coming to the fore now is that calving isn't going to be that far away, so we're kind of now just getting our head around what has to be done for calving, what preparations has to be done. So in the calving shed itself, we've a bit of washing to do in that, a bit of disinfectant, which we usually do at this time of the year every year. So that has to be done. So we're going to clear, there's the mowers over there, there's a few things in the way, we're going to get them out of the way and start getting that washed over the next week or so. The other thing is, there's one of the calving pens, if you remember, we had a little bit of wood rot in it. I mentioned that when I was clearing it out, that we had to put in some timbers there, so that has to be done. There's a bit of plumbing to be done, there's a drinker to go back in there as well. So yeah, just a bit of general work like that has to be done just to get that ready. The other thing too is we had a couple of cows with just little foot issues, as you always do, and we had our hoof guy was out this week, and he done some work on that. Got a little bit of footage, and I suppose the handiest thing with it is I'll add it in now, and I'll do a little bit of a voiceover on that, just kind of explaining what was happening, what we were doing on that, and yeah, you'll see that. The cows themselves, they're in good order. These are the later ones here that has to calve, I think. Look at calving. Most of the cows have been scanned, and they're not due to start calving until into March. But you know, calving dates and times, they can be a few weeks out either way, and we could probably have some maybe might start calving, or the first of them may start calving in February. So we have to just be ready for that. But yeah, overall the condition of the cows is good. They're not on the most wonderful silage ever, as we spoke about in last week's video. The silage is second silage, which these guys are getting, isn't fantastic, but it's doing okay. You know, you can see the cows there, they're in good enough order, and quite happy with them. You know, so that end of it we are happy enough with. So yes, the other things that we have to get done and dusted. So so I'll put up now the little bit of footage I took of the hoof man in action, and you have a look at that, and then we'll come back after that, and there's a couple of other questions I was asked in last week's video. I'll go through that, go through some of the answers to them as well. Alright, so this is a pretty important job that has to be done every year on the farm. It's hoof treatment. So usually of our 50 sucklers, we would have to pick out, depending on the year, somewhere between maybe 7, 8, 10 of them that might need a little bit of treatment in one way or another. Some of the issues can be genetic, so some cows will have little bits of deformities on their hoof maybe, or have a tendency for the hoof to grow long. It could even be, you know, so it's just something that can be bred through in them. If it's not too bad and you can keep it under control by doing this here, by a little bit of hoof treatment, then we tend to let them lay on, especially if they're good cows and they're having good calves, and you know, so it's not a big issue. If the problem becomes worse, or as they get older if it becomes worse, then we may have to cull them out of the herd. It's just part of the whole thing. Other things that can happen then is in the summertime when they're out, or wintertime or springtime, when they're out, sometimes they could stand on something, whether it's a stone or a little foreign object, and it can mark the hoof, cause an infection. Sometimes it could be a stone might go up into the tender part of the hoof and keep moving in it as she's walking around, and all of a sudden it becomes an infection and a problem. So you know, some of them, you see here, our hoof man is just digging out little bits of an areas here where possibly a stone may have went and caused an irritation over the summer. There was some of them that he actually found little bits of stone and little foreign objects, took them out, and you know, once you take them out, if it's not infected, fine. If it is infected, you may need an antibiotic. So it's just all little things just to try and keep the hooves right, and it works, you know. So the grinder here, it's got a special disc that for leveling out and taking bits of the hoof off. and yeah, look, it works well. Our hoofman is going to remain anonymous. I was going to put his name all over Facebook and YouTube and all over the place and have everybody calling him up and annoying his head, but he then threatened me that he'd never come back. So we'll try and keep it. We'll try and keep it on the QT who he is. In any case, we don't want to rock the boat and put the Hoof GP in England to shame. But yeah, so that's it. Hoof treatment done for another year, and hopefully we have no more hoof issues when the cows get out on the calve and all that kind of stuff. But you never know, there's always issues. So that's the cow's feet for now, and them done and dusted and sorted, just to get on now with the rest of stuff and get preparations made for calving. The other thing that I was asked a few questions in last week's video, just going to kind of address them now this week. One of the things I was asked was did you get something new in the yard? Is that your slurry tank? Did you buy a second slurry tank? There's a load of questions. I'll put some of them up here, and this isn't even them all, but it's not our slurry tanker, it's a friend of ours tanker. It's actually still here. I picked it up. I was leaving something down. I was getting a wee job done to it, and I was leaving something down with the guys who done the work on this, and this was ready for collection. I took it back home from, so it's been sitting here for the last week or so. It just hasn't been needed, and it's not in the way, it's just sitting here in the yard. So yeah, but we'll be using it probably later in the year at some stage. If we're under pressure, we do get a lend at the tanker. The chap that owns it, he gets a lend of our mixer, and we kind of would loan stuff either way sometimes. So yeah, nice to be able to get a lend of it, and great to, you know, to have a second tanker. But it's a lovely tanker. It's a Red Rock tanker. He bought it a couple of years ago, and put a brand new dribble bar on it as well. So yeah, nice to get a bit of footage of that, or maybe get the two Red Rocks working. Ours doesn't just look as good as that, but we do intend to get it painted at some stage. So yeah, hopefully it'll be freshened up. So that is that. Another question I was asked was, what do I think of the Abbey diet feeder? This is actually our second one of these, and well, we like them. We have they kind of suit. They're not massive. They suit our system and suit our sheds. And by not massive, they can walk in quite a tight area. Some of our sheds, the passageways, the older sheds is quite narrow, so they work well enough in those, and that's why they suit. So I like them. They don't give much trouble. There's not much. There's only a handful of bearings in them altogether, and chain. There's a couple of sets of chains in it as well. So once you keep them right, it's usually not too bad. We have this one. This feeder here, particular one, is an 06 model. We didn't start using it till about 2014 or 15, I'd say we started using it. We had it sitting in for a few years, and then started using it then. Our first feeder, we were using it right up until that. The first feeder was relined, and we actually sold it. It didn't go that far away from here, and it's walking away every day still. We had it from 2000 or 2001. So yeah, this here was an 06. It had been bought, done no work. It was hardly used. It was like new when we got it in about 2011, I think, or 2012. And as I say, then we started using it around 2015-ish, I'd say. But yeah, it's giving very little trouble. Now there is a bearing in the front of it is making a little bit of noise now, so we're going to have to change it. And one of the large bearings here at the back, it's actually the one at the front. You might be able to see it that well, but the carrier for it split, the one on the front, and we had to change it a couple of years ago. But other than that, it was very good. It's a very good feeder. Won't work with bales, so if you want to put round bales in them, they're not ideal for that. You really would need to shake the bales out for it to work on it. But other than that, very good. Another question I was asked was about the elevator. We actually have another feeder, a spare one. It's a 2017 or 2018 one in Abbey, which is down, it's parked down the bottom of the yard. We have it a couple of years now, and we haven't used it. It's kind of just sitting there. It hasn't done that much, but yeah, we just like to have a spare one, and that if something happened, big happening, we can just swap straight over onto it. This elevator here came on the newer type, on the newer feeder, the newer Abbey feeder. The new feeder is basically the same feeder, just there's newer stickers on it and the paint's a bit fresher. But this here elevator was a big plus to have on it because it's a belt elevator. There's a lot less material lost on the ground with it, and yeah, just a nice extra to have on it. The old elevator that was on this was the elevator that was on our very original feeder. It was like slats on it, and I found the slats would wear and they could start to bend and could cause you issues. And there was a cover underneath. We used to take it off because the cover would build up with material and it'd break the slats. So we took it off, and once you took that cover off, you used to lose a load of material on the ground. You spent a lot of time then sweeping it up afterwards. But this here is much cleaner. Now, there is still a little bit of material lost, but a lot less. So yeah, it's a nice job. Since this is the second year we've had, is the second or third year? Second year I think we've had this here on. As soon as we got the new feeder, we put the elevator straight onto this feeder here and started using it. So yeah, but yeah, the other feeder below doesn't need very much done to it. This elevator would have to go onto it and start using it, and very little else. But yeah, we're good to have a spare one of them. And yeah, but yeah, overall, as I said, like the Abbey feeder, very good. Wouldn't ideally I would like one maybe a little bit bigger, but for our yard and our system and everything that we're doing, just the way it works, it's just handy. And we'll stick with the Abbey as long as we can. So that's kind of it for today's video. It's kind of a short one, but it's just the way it has worked out. Just before we go, a couple of things. I just want to thank everybody for all the well wishes that I got last week, both on the video and in private messages. Very much appreciated. Lots of messages just about my eye and all that. So thank you very much for all those well wishes. Getting the other job actually done tomorrow. So we're getting laser treatment done tomorrow, and so hopefully it'll work on this eye as well. And hopefully by the weekend it'll be starting to improve and everything will start to get back to normal with them. So yeah, thank you very much for all the well wishes. The other thing I just want to quickly mention, if you haven't already, head over to I Farm We Farm's fundraiser that he's running at the minute. He's doing Trojan work over there, earning some money for Pieta House. So yeah, he's flying it. If you haven't already supported, head over and support it. Some great prizes to be won. He's running it as a raffle style fundraiser. So you enter, you pay some money, enter, you buy some tickets, and you get a chance then to win a prize. So yeah, doing great work. So fair play to him. He's really going to earn some good money, and it's a good cause. So that's it for today's video. Hope you all enjoyed the video. We will be back hopefully around the weekend, and we'll see what we're up to. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit the sub button, leave a like in the video, comment down below. All that stuff helps the channel. See you at the weekend.